okay?
I think this cop is extorting me.
Seems you met the Honorable Sheriff Bills.
I'm in trouble.
How far will you go?
Protect her child from harm.
Hi guys, welcome to Flick Finesse. We all love movies that keep us on the edge of our seats, full of suspense and unexpected twists. So we decided to compile the top 10 best thriller movies you might have missed, including some exciting new releases. This list is packed with gripping stories and clever plot twists that will keep you hooked from start to finish. Even if you've seen a few before, it's still going to be thrilling to discover these hidden gems. Well, let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right in. Number 10. Bloodstar. A restless drifter scraping through the edges of her own mistakes, Bobby is a young woman running on dwindling stamina and borrowed time. Her life has been shaped by impulsive choices and quiet regrets, leaving her with little more than instinct to navigate the world. She's grown accustomed to surviving in motion, never settling, never breathing long enough to feel safe. But that fragile sense of control fractures the moment she crosses into a forgotten desert town where authority is wielded like a weapon. A lone sheriff, carrying a darkness sharpened by years of unchecked power, turns her detour into a dangerous entanglement. What begins as a routine stop becomes an escalating confrontation, pushing Bobby into a corner she never expected to fight her way out of. The sun-scorched landscape becomes a hostile maze, stretching endlessly beneath a sky that offers no shelter. Every mile of cracked earth hides threats she can't afford to ignore. Forced into a relentless test of endurance, Bobby finds herself trapped between the oppressive vastness of the desert and the chilling persistence of a man who refuses to let her slip away. As the hours unravel, she's driven deeper into a struggle that demands more than survival. It demands she confront the version of herself she has tried to outrun. Each decision tightens the vice around her fate, pulling her toward consequences that feel both inevitable and irreversible. Bloodstar unfolds as a tense, unforgiving descent into fear, power, and resilience. A stark portrait of a woman pushed beyond her limits, fighting to reclaim the freedom slowly being stripped from her in the heart of an indifferent wilderness. Number 9. Buried in Barstow. Hazel, a woman shaped by violence and long-buried choices, moves through life with the quiet precision of someone who has learned to survive in the shadows. Years of outrunning a past she can't erase have carved a guarded stillness into her, leaving her clinging to the fragile stability she's built in a small roadside diner. She protects her daughter with a fierce, unspoken devotion, the kind born from knowing how dark the world can become. But this fragile peace fractures when a figure from her former life returns, carrying the weight of old obligations and unspoken demands. His presence reminds her that some debts refuse to fade, pulling her toward a confrontation she never wanted renewed. The dusty outskirts of Barstow become a tense crossroads, a landscape where danger moves quietly and every decision trembles with hidden consequence. Beneath the hum of sun-bleached afternoons lies a tightening thread of unfinished business. Hazel's fight to protect what little she has left forces her into uneasy alliances and morally uncertain ground. Each step drags her deeper into a world she once fled, testing her resolve and the boundary between who she was and who she hopes to become. Buried in Barstow unfolds as a lean, emotionally charged tale of survival and reckoning, anchored by a woman battling to keep her fractured life intact as the shadows of her past rise to claim what she refuses to surrender. Number 8. The Wolf of Snow Hollow. John, a tightly wound deputy fraying under the weight of responsibility, is struggling to keep his small mountain town from slipping into chaos. Sleepless nights, personal failures, and a growing sense of inadequacy have carved a restless edge into his days, pushing him to operate on instinct rather than clarity. He's determined to hold everything together, even as his own control slowly erodes. But this determined front begins to weaken when a series of violent, unexplained attacks shakes the quiet community. Each incident drives panic deeper into the valley, and John finds himself at odds with a terrified town that's desperate for answers. His encounters across the snow-covered wilderness become a reminder of how quickly fear can twist ordinary lives into something unrecognizable. This frozen landscape turns into a claustrophobic maze of suspicion and doubt. Beneath its stillness lies a simmering unease, a sense that something is lurking just out of sight, fueling tensions that were already close to breaking. John's spiraling state forces uneasy cooperation with those he can barely rely on, dragging him through moments that test both his discipline and his sanity. As he navigates this cold, relentless terrain, John is pulled into a reckoning he can no longer outrun. Every decision exposes his vulnerabilities, and every misstep drags him closer to the consequences he's tried to avoid. The investigation becomes less about the threat outside and more about the turmoil boiling inside him. The Wolf of Snow Hollow is a tense, atmospheric descent into fear and pressure. A story about a man grappling with the shadows around him and the storms within, each threatening to swallow him whole. Number 7. Faces in the Crowd. Anna, a shaken woman clinging to the remnants of her once steady life, is struggling to hold herself together after surviving a violent attack. What should have been a return to normalcy becomes an unending maze of uncertainty, as a rare neurological disorder blurs every face around her into an indistinguishable haze. Routine moments now carry a quiet dread, turning even familiar spaces into shifting ground. But this delicate attempt at recovery begins to splinter when she crosses paths with the detective assigned to her case, a man driven by duty, yet weighed down by his own frustrations. Their connection forms out of necessity rather than trust, a partnership born from the uneasy hope that clarity might break through all this distortion. Her world narrows into a corridor of warped faces and lingering tension. Beneath its calm surface rests a threat she cannot pinpoint. Anna's impaired perception forces risky choices, binding her fate to people she cannot truly recognize. As she moves through this disorienting landscape, she is drawn toward consequences she never foresaw. Every step challenges her sense of fear, memory, and identity, exposing emotional wounds she's long kept buried. Faces in the Crowd is a tense, atmospheric dive into blurred reality. A portrait of a woman fighting for control in a world where the familiar dissolves and survival depends on navigating a life that refuses to stay still. Number 6. Miss Meadows. Miss Meadows, a seemingly serene woman wrapped in vintage grace, moves through her quiet town with a poise that feels almost unreal. Beneath her polished manners and gentle smile, however, rests a guarded past, one that has carved an unshakable sense of purpose into her calm exterior. What appears to be a quaint, orderly life carries an undercurrent of carefully contained turbulence. Her routine harmony begins to bend when shadows in the community grow harder to ignore. Threats linger at the edges of her calm world, testing the unwavering code she lives by. The sheriff who enters her life brings a cautious compassion, yet even he senses that Miss Meadows' charm is threaded with something far more resolute than innocence. Their connection becomes a delicate negotiation between curiosity, restraint, and the unease neither of them voices. As the town's quiet facade cracks, Miss Meadows is compelled to act on convictions shaped long before this place knew her name. Her choices, both graceful and unsettling, draw her deeper into a moral divide where righteousness blurs into something darker. Every interaction hints at the weight she has carried alone, a burden she conceals behind soft-spoken courtesy and immaculate composure. Miss Meadows is an atmospheric, subtly disquieting character study, a portrait of a woman walking the line between elegance and danger, navigating a world where politeness masks steel and survival demands a courage she has perfected in silence. Number 5. Marmalade. Baron, a kind-hearted but naive young man in a quiet small town, devotes himself to caring for his ailing mother amid mounting hardships. His ordinary life takes an electrifying turn when he crosses paths with Marmalade, a bold, enigmatic woman with a free-spirited edge and hidden depths that both captivate and unsettle him. Drawn into a whirlwind romance fueled by passion and desperation, Baron finds himself swept up in Marmalade's daring vision for escape and a brighter future. What starts as a dream of breaking free spirals into a high-stakes scheme laced with risk, where love and loyalty collide with unforeseen complications. Now behind bars, Baron confides his vivid tale to his shrewd cellmate, Otis, as they plot a way out, revealing a story of impulsive devotion, clever deceptions, and the intoxicating pull of a love that promises everything, yet demands far more than he ever imagined. Marmalade is a twisty romantic heist thriller, blending quirky charm, tense crime elements, and emotional undercurrents, exploring how far one might go for the people and dreams they hold dear. Number 4. The East. Sarah, an undercover operative worn thin by years of silent obedience, clings to the structure of her profession as the last steady piece of herself. What should be a routine mission begins to feel heavier, as shifting identities leave her drifting between who she is and who she's supposed to be. Even simple moments carry muted tension, turning her controlled world into something quietly unstable. But her careful balance warps when she embeds herself inside a shadowy eco-anarchist collective known as the East. Their presence is unsettling in its calm intensity, a group bound by conviction, secrecy, and a raw purpose she hasn't felt in years. Their ideals, sharp and unfiltered, press against her training in ways she can't easily shake. Her days fold into intimate conversations and ambiguous alliances. Benji, their enigmatic leader, draws her in with quiet gravity, while Izzy's simmering anger adds an edge to every gathering. Each new bond blurs the distance she tries to maintain, binding her to people she was meant to expose. As Sarah navigates this shifting terrain, the mission she thought she controlled begins slipping away. Every choice forces her deeper into questions of loyalty, consequence, and identity, the foundations she once trusted without hesitation. The East emerges as a tense, slow-burning exploration of moral conflict and hidden truths, a story where conviction and deception collide, and survival depends on knowing which part of yourself you're willing to betray. Number 3. Fair Game. Valerie, a poised intelligence officer long accustomed to living in the shadows, finds her tightly managed world slipping when a political storm erupts around her name. What should have been another contained chapter of covert work collapses into a maze of exposure and doubt, where every headline feels like a threat and every silence grows heavier. The life she built on discipline and discretion starts trembling under forces far beyond her reach. But everything shifts when her husband, driven by conviction yet strained by the cost of truth, steps into the conflict with a determination that both steadies and unsettles her. Their bond turns into a fragile alliance, shaped by fear, anger, and the need to stay united while the world closes in. Valerie's life narrows into a corridor of scrutiny and political tension. Beneath its polished surface lies a web of agendas she can't easily navigate. Her identity, once a shield, becomes a tender vulnerability she never expected to confront. As she moves through this tightening landscape, she's pulled toward consequences she never sought. Each choice tests her resolve, reshaping her sense of purpose while exposing wounds she thought were buried. Fair Game emerges as a taut, atmospheric descent into the cost of truth, a portrait of a woman fighting to reclaim her voice in a world determined to distort it. Number 2. Beonia. Michelle Fuller, a poised and formidable CEO known for her sharp composure, sees her meticulously controlled world crumble the moment she's torn from her daily rhythm and thrust into the grasp of two men driven by an absolute and terrifying belief. What begins as another day of power and precision mutates into a suffocating ordeal, where certainty slips away and fear coils around her like a tightening thread. But her captivity grows even more unsettling as she faces Teddy Gatz, driven by unshakable conviction, and his cousin Don, whose uneasy loyalty deepens the instability. Their absolute belief forms a volatile triangle, bound not by trust, but by desperation, a collision of delusion, singular purpose, and unraveling logic. Michelle's world contracts into a claustrophobic chamber where motives twist and survival hinges on reading fractured minds that could snap at any moment. Beneath Teddy's intense certainty lies a danger that pushes her into choices she never imagined. As the hours grind forward, she confronts how far people will go when terror masquerades as purpose, each moment stripping away her polished exterior. Beonia becomes a dark, claustrophobic exploration of paranoia and conviction, a descent into a world where survival depends on navigating the fragile line between fear, belief, and the nature of reality itself. Number 1. One battle after another. Bob Ferguson, a shaken ex-radical, is struggling to maintain his peace after surviving a decades-old confrontation. His deliberate return to obscurity becomes an unending maze of tactical uncertainty, as his former ideals blur every safe path forward into an indistinguishable haze. Routine moments now carry a quiet dread, turning even familiar hideouts into shifting ground. This delicate attempt at retirement shatters when his daughter, Willa, is suddenly endangered by the obsessive military officer, Colonel Lockjaw, a figure driven by vengeance and a twisted connection to Bob's past. Bob is forced into a necessary alliance with former comrades, a partnership born from the uneasy hope that clarity might break through the generational distortion now gripping their world. Ferguson's world narrows into a corridor of warped alliances and lingering tension. His outdated perception of the system forces increasingly risky choices, binding his fate to people he cannot truly outmaneuver or fully trust. The film is a tense, atmospheric dive into political reality, a riveting portrait of a father fighting for control in a world where the past dissolves and survival depends on navigating a life that refuses to stay quiet. And that's it for our top 10 thriller movies you might have missed. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more movie recommendations. Comment below which ones you've seen or can't wait to watch. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.